So Vedic chanting is considered the oldest psalmody on the planet, right? They're hymns to the divine or to God. Literally the oldest psalmody on the planet, if you can imagine that. It's also considered the oldest unbroken oral tradition in existence, right? The oldest. It's so valuable that even UNESCO has designated it a masterpiece of oral and intangible heritage to humanity, to mankind. That's how important it is. And it's because it follows these very austere rules of grammar, it's been able to survive and will survive not just the coronavirus, but it's survived many viruses and invasions and strife and wars and turmoil that humanity has gone through. Right? That's how powerful this tradition is. Now, Vedic chanting is actually the chanting of the Vedas or excerpts of the Vedas. And the Vedas are considered the most ancient of the religious Hindu texts. And this tradition was originally an oral tradition before it was written down. And it was originally, it was cognized. It was understood by the ancient seers or rishis when they were in deep meditation, right? Deep meditation. So in that way, they were hearing the word of God, right? The word of consciousness, the word of the divine. The Vedas come from this root. Vid means to know. Vid, V-I-D, to know. And Veda essentially means knowledge. And the Vedas, so it's Veda -S, the Vedas, this compilation, it's a compilation of knowledge, essentially. And they deal with, the Vedas, this huge compilation deals with things like our existence, why are we here, the cosmos, righteous living, prayers and rituals and hymns for, how do you say, so that people are in a state of truth, right? These came to the seers at a time called the Sat Yuga. We're now in the Kali Yuga, so this came, the Sat means truth. This is a time, these were delivered at a time so that people could live in an organized yet harmonious way, where we each benefit the community and society as a whole, right? It's not hierarchical in the sense that others are above or below each other, but that we work in cooperation with each other, that we all have essentially purpose, and what that purpose is to the greater universe is revealed in these Vedas. Now, Shruti means that which is heard. So it came to these rishis, right? They literally heard these chants, these vibrations came to them. This word Shruti means that which is heard, versus, for example, this first chant I'm going to teach you, just because it's such a great primer in learning Vedic chanting, it's considered what's called smriti, which means that which is remembered, and it can be attributed to like an author, right, or a great scholar or a sage. So these are attributed to the divine, and it's that which is heard. And Vedic chanting, the process of chanting these Vedas, the term is called adhyayanam. Adhyayanam. You could even look that word up, adhyayanam, and it means the teaching or the chanting or the practice of, or the studying of the Vedas, adhyayanam. And it's translated to, and the meaning is a pilgrimage to the heart. Adhyayanam is the pilgrimage to the heart. And that's what Vedic chanting is. It takes you to the heart-mind chakra, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. the Anahata, the chakra. I'm going to give you a little bit more background first on the Vedic chanting, and then tell you a little bit about why we might be doing this now. So Vedic chanting is really different than kirtan, and a lot of times people will say, oh yeah, I've done Vedic chanting before. And I even thought that when I first started it too. It's so different than kirtan, which is done to music frequently and most often. And kirtan means like a narrative storytelling. And it's a fabulous practice because it's a really heart opening, it's devotional. It's very different in that you can sort of bliss out, like while you're doing kirtan, right? Your mind can go off somewhere else. And Vedic chanting is a very active, austere, vigilant meditation and pranayama practice. And because it's survived these 5,000 to 7,000 years, it's based on the fact that it does follow these austere rules, right? So that somebody chanting today is chanting just like they were or are in Japan, right? Or as they were even 2,000 years ago. So that's sort of the baseline. Is I'm going to start to introduce you to some of these rules of Vedic chanting, some of the beginner rules, so that we don't get overwhelmed with them. But think of it as a very active meditation and pranayama practice, which for all of us that are yoga practitioners and teachers who've studied the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali says in the 3 pillars of Kriya Yoga, right, is tapas, svadhyaya, and ishvara pranidhyanani. And tapas is considered an asana practice, right? Pranayama could come under tapas. And these are practices, right, which help fortify our, we'll say, our strength, our determination, and resisting our own resistance to practice. So Vedic chanting is tapas, but it's also svadhyaya. This is really important. Svadhyaya, right, is often translated as in self-reflection or, sort of study of self. But svadhyaya means to study ancient scriptures or any text that reveal to us what our highest self is. And that includes japa meditation, which is the essence of yoga, right? Is mantra and japa meditation. This is a form both of meditation and pranayama. And through the practice, we're also invoking this 3rd pillar of Kriya Yoga called Ishvara Pranidhyanani, where we surrender the efforts or the fruits of our efforts to something higher than ourselves, to the divine. Really, it's the essence of the Yoga Sutras in terms of a practice. And each syllable of any mantra, right? There's mantras and then there's Vedic chanting, and mantras are just certain words or phrases or syllables that sort of are excerpted or out of the longer chants that come out of the Vedas. Every single syllable that makes up a mantra or a longer phrase, right, in a chant, every single syllable is equivalent to this potent, organic, natural pharmaceutical that's more powerful than you could ever imagine, because it has the potential to activate or turn on our bioelectrical system, right? So when you think of our chakras, when you think of our consciousness, right, it has the ability to shift our consciousness because these syllables are activating different parts of our body. It's opening our heart, which is connected to the vagus nerve, which is connected and branching out to every single organ in the body, right? So our entire system, billions of cells, are getting activated with the consciousness of the divine. So in that, and like pranayama and meditation, Vedic chanting, because it's so potent, this practice of adhyayanam, it reveals the practitioner's level of concentration and presence. I'll repeat that. So it's like pranayama, like breathing practice, or like meditation, it instantly reveals the practitioner's level of absorption and concentration, and we'll say presence that they bring, or you bring, to your practice. So in this, you know, not only does chanting influence your mind, it's revealing your state of mind. So it's not only influencing your mind, it's revealing your state of mind. It also reveals, if you say, you know, the samskaras, which get expressed through the throat chakra, through how we speak. Our samskaras are the latent conditioning from this life and from previous lives. And so chanting also helps to reduce these samskaras, or the kleshas, right? These habits of mind that we're all afflicted with. And so you can think of it as cleaning up our speech, cleaning up our thoughts, cleaning up our compulsions and our habits, right? All of which leads to the shift in consciousness. Now, something else I just wanted to bring up is, and I talked about this, I think in the free class I did maybe a week and a half ago, is that, again, for those of us that are practitioners of yoga or teachers of yoga, we know that the word asana classically means to sit, right? It doesn't mean exercise. It's not about working the muscles. It's about working the mind, right? So if we do asana practice, you know, all these asanas have the word, the word asana typically in the classical name. But when we do asana practice without mantra, when we do, we'll say even pranayama without mantra, it's considered, like they call it, it's called jada yoga. It means dead yoga. It's dead. It's not, you're not activating your system, right? Because it's not about the muscles in the body. We're here to transcend the body. So you know, some of these mantras that we're going to be learning, or these words within these longer chants, you want to bring them into your asana practice. You want to bring them into your pranayama practice. This is how it was done traditionally and classically. Another thing I wanted to share, because a question came up in the Monday class about learning all of the meanings or the definitions to all of the words. You know, classically, the meanings weren't taught until a student memorized the entire chant or passage, right? And some of these that I chant one every day that's 20 pages. I have others that are 133 pages. And it's a lot, you know, I can barely talk sometimes after like an hour and 20 minutes, like yesterday, I was so hoarse. But, you know, I went through some grief the last couple of weeks, and it's really helping me to shift out of that. And I can feel those toxins, those impurities coming out of my system. But what I want to get to about the meaning, so traditionally you memorize. I don't even have all of these memorized yet. So traditionally the student must memorize, because it starts to activate our entire system. And then the meaning starts to come on its own, along with the meaning that's given by the guru or the teacher. The challenge is today, for so many of us, you know, we want to know things superficially before we've even put forth like the effort, right? I mean, I'm like that too. So I'm just asking to be patient and to be with these sounds on a daily basis, give yourself, maybe start with 15-30 minute practice. And, if you find this really resonates, you can work up to an hour of practice a day. And that could even including some of this into your asana practice. Now, a few things about grammar rules, and I would love to get started on the chanting. I'll just share with you that, Vedic chanting uses your entire vocal apparatus, which our language does not do. So we're using guttural sounds and labial sounds, dental sounds, retroflex sounds, and we're learning to aspirate our words. And I can go into this as the weeks go on, but one of the beautiful things is that we have this vocal apparatus that we're not even fully utilizing. And that's one of the benefits of chanting. Now, Krishnamacharya, the tradition that I've been studying for the last, it's been like 26 years in this tradition, and now formally with his family the last 4.5 years. So Krishnamacharya was really progressive in terms of opening up Vedic chanting for foreigners and for women, right? Because he did not discriminate and felt that it was, I shouldn't even say felt, he actually used logic, and he argued the Vedic darshanas, he argued why it was important that everyone be allowed to use Vedic chanting during this Kali Yuga, right? During this period of strife and war and turmoil and greed and destruction and complete, mental uncertainty and chaos, right? Because our minds are, in these texts, they talk about how unsteady the mind used to be. And you think, wow, this was before shopping malls and the internet and iPhones, right? How unsteady the mind is today. So Krishnamacharya would say that chanting is an expression of your breath. It's the physical expression of your breath. And it has this really deep link between the mind and the breath. And if you start to incorporate it into your asana practice, both aloud and silently, you will begin to experience your, we'll call it yoga practice, on a completely different realm, because it's so calming. It gets inside the mind, and besides stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system to completely relax, it will literally start to change the frequency of the thoughts. There's just so many benefits to chanting. I'll just say overall, we're looking right now to strengthen our immune system and to create a more sattvic, right, more peace of mind during this pandemic, during this time of uncertainty and change. And yet that's what the yoga tradition teaches us. It's all change, right?